brief exercise. Sit properly. Everybody just sit properly. Just sit in a good position. Then taking a deep breath. Just breathe in, out. Taking another deep breath, out. Please just raise your right hand up, down. Raise it again. Down. Can you be on your feet? Can you be on your feet? Can you be on your feet? Yes. Can you be on your feet? Just raise your left hand as well. Raise your left hand and bring it down. Then just turn left. Turn to the extreme. Then you come back. Turn again. Then you come back. Then turn the other way around. Then you come back. Turn the other way around. Then you come back. Just clap for yourself for doing this. You can sit down. This is Lion Signature Hotel in Ikeja. We are seated in one of their halls here for safety reasons. In case you want to use the convenience, we have the convenience on the place I'm pointing. We have male and female. We have 2 exit points, one here, one on this other side. As of the last time I confirmed with the hotel, they said there's no emergency drill. So in case you hear any alarm, just don't be in a panic. Just go to the muster points where the car is parked. But I know that there will not be any emergency. We will start this event as quick as possible. All our resource persons are on ground. We are still expecting some government agencies that will join us very soon. So on our activity events, we are starting with an opening prayer. I would like to, okay, I think it's the national anthem first. Please, can we be on our upstanding? Can we be upstanding for the national anthem?
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Don't try that on in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace all battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hand unto our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build our nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty Nigeria may be blessed.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I will now call on Dr. Oscar Baisha-Mure to give us opening prayer.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you. We give you glory, we give you honor for the to gather here to learn. Father, with giving us the privilege and the opportunity to travel down here. We give you glory and honor. Father, as we go into today's deliberation, into today's learning, Father, let our minds be open, let it be receptive, that all that we will learn will be productive to us and will be productive to our society. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Thank you. Can we give him a round of applause, please? So I know some of us are from the state office, and also some of us are from the headquarters, and some of us are consultants here. I would like to forward the mic to each and every one of us. So introduce yourself. As the mic is going on, just pick it up, your name, and the institution you are from. Thank you. I'll start with you, sir.
Okay, thank you. My name is Professor Idara Akpabio, Research Officer, EPC, NDDC, Port Harcourt.
My name is Dr. Oscar Baishemore, an Assistant Director under Ecological Monitoring in Environmental Protection and Control, NDDC, Headquarters, Port Harcourt.
Thank you very much. My name is Engineer Onoha Baker. I'm the Director of Environmental Protection and Control for NDDC.
My name is Elder Dr. Henry Okokon. I'm a Director too, Environmental Protection and Control.
My name is Engineer Niefiok in Yokut. I'm a Director 3 in NDDC.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Mrs. Enokwe, Head of Unit, Ecological Monitoring and Control of EPC in NDDC.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mr. James Hillary. I'm Assistant Director, NDDC, Niger Data Development Commission.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kanta Iboro Wilifred. I'm a staff of Environmental Protection and Control Directorate in Cross River State.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Akpabio Ekikere Uyo, EPC, Abia State Office. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anako Ajimoke, EPC, Assistant Director, EPC, Port Harcourt.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Engineer Osasa Itoye. I'm an Assistant Director, EPC Headquarters, Port Harcourt.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deborah Ubong, staff of EPC Headquarters.
Good morning, all. My name is Isaiah Jaja, EPC, Port Harcourt.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Uche Izuchukwu. I work for the hydrocarbon pollution project, remediation project. I'm representing the project coordinator here. I'm the mangrove restoration officer and also the technical assistant on mangrove issues to the project coordinator. Thank you.
And Mike Beotu is my name, EPC.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ifeanyi Chukwumonna, EPC, NDDC.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pipa Seigbelikmo, EPC, Port Harcourt.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nzoma Titus, EPC, Headquarters.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Walter Bitimi Jonah, EPC Headquarters, Port Harcourt.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oduka Zubikeloki, EPC Headquarter.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Anele Joseph, EPC NDDC Headquarter.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Siloko, Headquarter.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Alex Etukuku, EPC NDDC.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Okio Excel, EPC Headquarter.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Folashade Kainde. I'm here to serve as rapporteur for the event.
Thank you so much. No, I will introduce him. Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Dr. Daniel Smile George, the coordinating consultant to this event. Without taking so much of our time, we'll just quickly go to the program. May I invite our distinguished Director of Environmental Protection and Control, Engineer Honor Baker, to come and give his opening remark and speech. Thank you, sir. Can we give him a round of applause, please?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Let me recognize the presence of facilitators for this event, Professor Elu Chukwu and Mr. Victor Inombre, I think. Imevore. I'd like to welcome you and thank you for accepting to be with us this morning at this auspicious occasion. I also recognize Professor Fabio, a research officer in the Directorate of Environmental Protection and Control. Very resourceful gentleman. Let me also recognize my colleagues, the directors in EPC as well, Elder Dr. Okokun and Engineer Aniefiok. We are glad to have all of you present in today's event. Let me also appreciate and recognize the presence of the other directors, assistant directors, and deputy directors, and indeed the entire staff of NDDC. We are glad to have you here, and it's going to be a two-day impactful meeting, and I would urge us all to ensure that we are present, physically and spiritually, so that you can internalize all that is going to happen here. I promise you it will be a worthwhile time, and we have carefully chosen this event, to identify with the challenges that we are daily faced in the Niger Delta region. If you are from the coastlines of the Delta, you will understand that we are losing our coastal communities and land very quickly to erosion, coastal erosion. And all of this is occasioned by the climate change crisis that we now face. the Delta is at the receptacle of all that happened from the upstream River Niger into the coastlines. And then we are contending with the impact of global warming and the associated climate change impacts. So the choice of this, the theme for this event is quite apt: artificial intelligence and coastal resilience, safeguarding shorelines for a sustainable Niger Delta. We must begin to think out of the box. We must begin to, take our destinies in our own hands to see how we can safeguard and preserve the lives, the livelihoods, and the future of our people. So, having said that, it is with immense pleasure that I welcome each of you to this significant gathering, the 5-day EPC retreat here in the vibrant city of Lagos. This is Lagos, anyway. This retreat, hosted at the exquisite Limewood Signature Hotels, will present us with a moment of reflection, collaboration, and innovation as we delve into a subject of critical importance to our region: AI and coastal resilience, safeguarding shorelines of a sustainable Niger Delta. The Niger Delta, with its rich biodiversity and vital coastal ecosystems, faces increasing challenges due to environmental changes, industrial activities, and the pressing effects of climate change. As we navigate these complexities, the integration of artificial intelligence offers unprecedented opportunities to enhance resilience, predict risks, and implement sustainable solutions. Over the next 5 days, we will engage in thought-provoking discussions, interactive sessions, and strategic planning aimed at leveraging AI to fortify our coastal regions. We will hear from experts, share insights, and foster partnerships that can drive meaningful action. To our esteemed speakers, facilitators, and participants, your presence here is a testament to your commitment to safeguarding the future of our shorelines. Let this retreat be a time of renewed focus, strengthened collaboration, and visionary leadership. Once again, I welcome you all and look forward to an enriching and impactful retreat. Let me seize this opportunity to also thank the Managing Director and CEO of the Niger Delta Development Commission, Chief Dr. Samuel Obuku, PhD, for his unwavering commitment to tackling the problems, especially the environmental problems of the Niger Delta region. So on that note, let me request that we relax as best as we can and enjoy the proceedings of this retreat. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Director. Thank you. Can we give him a round of applause again? May I now invite Dr. Mrs. Ino Ukbe to come for the citation of the guest, our distinguished keynote speaker.
Good morning once again. Our keynote speaker, Mr. Victor. Mr. Victor Imebure. He is a founder and managing director of the Environmental Resources Managers Limited, one of Nigeria's foremost environmental, social, and governance, as well as sustainable development consulting and management firms established in 1994. He is also a founding director and the vice chairman of the board of directors of Chapel Service Engineering, Chapel Energies Mauritius, a recent entrant into the Nigerian upstream sector. Mr. Imevore is an engineer, entrepreneur, and well-rounded environmental, social, and governance practitioner with excellent knowledge of pure science applications required for environmental management, for development activities, and the associated social and cultural dimensions. For over 25 years, he has successfully applied scientific concepts to find fit-for-purpose solutions to environmental challenges, particularly across the energy sector, oil, gas, and power in Nigeria. He regularly manages large interdisciplinary expert teams working on sustainable development and related studies of complex development projects. His deep understanding of the biophysical and social realities of Nigeria's Niger Delta and the regulatory framework pertaining to the country's oil and gas sector are widely acknowledged. In 2006, he led the groundbreaking UNDP study on the Niger Delta human development situation, leading to the development of an agenda for the region. He holds a BSc in Petroleum Engineering from the University of Ibadan and an MSc in Geographical Information Systems from the University of London. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Environmental Society, its immediate past interim president, national president for that matter, a fellow of the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment, United Kingdom, as well as a chartered environmentalist of the United Kingdom Society of the Environment. He is also a member of the Society for Corporate Governance in Nigeria, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN. He currently sits on the board of the Center of Environmental Human Resource and Development of the University of Lagos, as well as several companies. In recognition of his scientific achievement, Mr. Imebore received the Distinguished Scientific Award from the Faculty of Science of the respected Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife 2004, while the Environment magazine honored him as one of those who shaped the environment in 2008. In 2022, he was listed among the top 100 environmentalists here in Nigeria. Engineer Victor Imebore is married with a daughter and twin sons. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our keynote speaker, Engineer Victor Imebore.
Okay, let me get my notes. Good morning, everybody. I was looking for a podium. Please come. You know, and this other one. Okay, let me have So, but I guess if there is no podium, it doesn't mean we cannot learn. It doesn't mean we cannot share notes. All right, let me start by saying thank you very much, Director, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues. I don't know if there are any policymakers here. If there are, I greet you too. Scientists here, at least I can see one notable one, Professor Lucy Anchuku. Prof, I salute you, and thank you for getting me involved in this. For those who don't know, it is Prof, you know. I don't know if there are any community members here, but I assume we're all advocates of sustainable development, you know. Let me start by commending this initiative and to say I'm most grateful to the organizers, the Directorate of Environment of the NDDC, for inviting me to share my thoughts on the topic AI and coastal resilience. It's with great honor and a deep sense of responsibility that I stand before you today to deliver this keynote address on a topic that lies at the intersection of innovation and survival, safeguarding our shorelines for a sustainable Niger Delta. I like some of the words that the director, you know, spoke to remind us all that I always like to, you know, bring people into whatever I'm doing. There is problem. Oh. So for those who are sleeping, please hear well, there is problem, and that's what he's saying. There is a problem, and we have to find a way to deal with it, you know. So I will start with what I call the basics. Next slide. What are the basics? This is just an outline of presentation. Next slide. We look at coasts, and why is this important? I put these definitions out there so that we understand that we're dealing with coasts on two fronts. The outer coastline of Nigeria, right? And then the coasts, or if you like, the riverbanks of the estuaries, distributaries. And for the Niger Delta region, we have a minimum of 21 estuaries that empty into the Atlantic Ocean. So when talking about coastal resilience, let's not limit our thinking to just the outer coastline. Moreover, as you know, Niger Delta as defined today also includes states that do not have outer coastline, but they have river banks which could impact them. The other important thing here is that the 100-kilometer distance from the coastline is widely used when you are assessing human settlement patterns, livelihoods, and environmental stresses associated with those living or depending on the coastal area. So when we're talking about coasts, don't look at it purely as just being close to the shoreline. We're talking about a region of about 100 kilometers from the shoreline, right? And this zone is typically influenced by tidal fluctuations, so saltwater intrusion, flooding. As we know, the flood zones on the riverbanks are one of the most preferred for farming. But there are also the areas that receive significant, you know, impact when you have extreme weather conditions, you know, and those kind of flooding events. People's livelihoods are lost, homes are destroyed, and all that. Next slide. Importance of coasts. Populated regions in the world. 40% globally, on average, of the world's population live around the coast. In Nigeria, and should I say issue off the mic? In Nigeria, working with the NPC population numbers, right, that's the only thing that I can speak to. But I know that there is quite a bit of controversy about that. But let us even use MPC numbers. We have up to 25%, up to 25% of the country's population living in those areas. However, the area, land mass of the states within this 100-kilometer area, right, is significantly less. It's about 13%. So it tells you that we have a higher population density in the coastal areas. These are the areas that are most favored for people to live permanently, for leisure, for recreation, for tourism. You can see people talking about going to the beach, going to the beach, going to the beach. They've been centers of human activity for tons of years. It hosts the world's primary ports of commerce. That is very, very important because we are now in a global village. One of the things that has made us a global village, apart from the Internet of Things, is the fact that you can move goods, services, and human beings, right, between countries, continents, and all that. I remember when my father went to do his PhD, back in the days in the 60s, I know that it was not Nigeria Airways that he went on, right? So that tells you the importance of coasts. If there was no coast, I do not think he would have had the opportunity at the time to have gone to study. They provide critical ecosystem services, fisheries, storm protection, and they're highly biodiverse as far as, biological you realize that the coastal areas have the highest biodiversity. But guess what? They're also the choice areas for the oil and gas facilities. The Niger Delta and this coastal region structure, which the whole of Nigeria is depending on. They've been leaking and leaking and leaking and leaking, but it's all situated there. One of the interesting things is that we have what are called beach forests, barrier islands. If you take a look, these barrier islands are very, very biodiverse, but they're the ones preferred for all the main terminals. Let's start from the west. We have Escravos is within one of the beach forests. Focados is within a beach forest. Brass is within a beach forest. Bonny is within a beach forest. Kwaibo is within a beach forest. These are basically highly biodiverse. Where is the Bible now? Where is the, yes, where do I point it to? Okay. So those areas, are under pressure. We can't afford to lose them. But fortunately or unfortunately, just like he said, and like I started saying, there is problem, or there are threats to our coast. Sea level rise, that's a major problem. And this is primarily due to climate change. For those who may be doubting this thing, let me say to you, please, the research has shown, the data is unassailable. There is sea level rise. We're experiencing it, and this is a threat to our coastal areas. And the sea level has risen by approximately 20 centimeters since 1900s, and it's accelerating with the melting glaciers, increasing temperatures. Of course, coastal erosion. Yes, we have natural coastal erosion processes, but it's worsened by human activities. Dams, which are reducing the sediments that are coming from the upstream sector, right? Then we have, facilities that are installed along the coast, ports, breakwaters. Let me just remind some of us, some people may know. If we know Lagos a little bit, Victoria Island Beach. It used to be called the Bar Beach. Back in the days, those who lived in Lagos used to, every festive period, Easter, Christmas, Salah holiday, throng to the Bar Beach. But for years, the Bar Beach always faced, periodic erosion. And then will now come, there'll be beach nourishment. But what started that erosion was man-made feature, infrastructure. The opening to the Lagos harbor, where you have the ports, the Lagos ports, the opening to the Lagos harbor, they put in what we call some boulders to stop the sediment that continuously silted up the harbor. For ships to be able to navigate easily, they didn't want this silting to continue because it was expensive. So they put those boulders there. And you have the east mole and the west mole, as they are called, on both sides of the harbor. What that did was it stopped the natural movement and impacted the sediment budget. So the sand, which is moved from the west to the east in the natural process by what we call the longshore currents, right, was stopped. And what that did, in addition to, of course, what we call high wave energy that you experience in the Bar Beach, resulted in the erosion of the beach. At that time, nobody was doing EIA, nobody was looking at, the impacts of development. But guess what? Even today, there are sections along the Lagos state coast that are going through the same thing because they've put breakwaters there. We have to learn from things that have been done and resulted in bad outcomes. Habitat loss and degradation. Mangroves, coral reefs, wetlands offer a buffer. Now, in parts of Nigeria where we are losing wetlands, we forget that wetlands have their natural purpose. They basically are water pooling areas. They drain water from the surroundings, and that's why they are wetlands. When you take over the wetlands, and you build over them, or you make everything concrete, as we are seeing in many parts of Lagos, that water still has to go somewhere now. So the natural defense that it offers is no longer there. We are also losing our mangroves. Globally, over 35% of mangroves have been lost. Of course, we know pollution, effluent sewage, oil spills. We recently mapped the oil spill situation in the Niger Delta. I will tell you, we're all shouting Ogoni, 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 Ogoni. But what we have in other parts of the Niger Delta today are much more or worse than the Ogoni situation. I don't know how many people are aware of this. I don't know whether the rest of the country knows this. But if something is not done, the results are going to be really disastrous. The Niger Delta is threatened. Coastal developments, real estate, roads, industrial and recreational facilities. We have the Lagos to Calabar road that is ongoing. You can argue that it opens up different places and all that. But there were queries around the EIA, queries as to whether the impacts had been properly studied. I'm not going to talk against it lest they pick me up, right? But the truth is that we should make sure that such developments are carried out with environmental management, in mind. Of course, extreme weather events. We're seeing many more of those. One of the real changes that we're beginning to observe is in temperature. I don't know if it's in Lagos only, right? But I do know that in Lagos, Abuja, and Kano, temperatures are significantly higher than they have been in the last 20 years, right? And we're having rainstorms that are much more severe than we used to have before. Of course, flooding, a combination of natural processes, climate change, and human activities. Many areas are now more threatened by storm surges, tidal flooding, riverine, coastal flooding. So those threats exist. Let's look at the Nigerian situation properly. I've put up there the states that are within that 100-kilometer, zone from the outer coast. As you can see, there are more than the Niger Delta states, but include all of the NDDC states. And like I said, they occupy just between 13 and 60% of the country's area, but are home to at least 25% of the population. If you take the state's own population figures, this goes closer to 40. But we can't put that out. Many parts are heavily urbanized, as you know. Of course, I talked about the upstream facilities that are located there, the harbors, and the livelihoods of many of the communities and dwellers, e.g. the farmers and fishers, are tied to the environment. We have 4 main coastal geomorphic zones along the outer coastline, each with its distinct features and responses to the environmental stresses. Now, why is this important? This doesn't show clearly, but okay. It's important because in planning for coastal area management or coastal resilience, we should take into consideration the peculiarities of these areas. Let me talk about this a little bit. So we have the Lagos State coast. It's called the Barrier Island Coast. Its features here, we have what we call a steep continental slope, which means that by the time you go out a small distance, 10, 15, 20 kilometers, it gets very deep. Compared to the Strand Coast in Akwa Ibom, where you may need to go 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers before you achieve the same depth here. Then next to it, we have a unique coast. Is anybody from Ondo State here? Okay. We have this unique Ondo State mud coast. It's very unique. You don't have many of it in the world, right? And part of what makes it unique is the coastal dynamics. Sand moves from west to east up to this point because of the winds. Sand moves from east to west in this area because of the winds. Our winds are basically southwesterly. So when they hit the shoreline, right, they generate waves that hit the shoreline and then they move the sand. But here, you can see that is direct. So you don't have any sand coming here. So you have mostly mud beach. And it's a very, very sensitive beach. In recent times, though, it's been opened up to the sea. Historically, there was no river that opened up into the sea here. But I think that maybe the locals and some oil and gas facilities have done that. When you go beyond that, you have what we call the Niger Delta coast. But it's split into two. There are two parts. There's the western side and there's the eastern side. Right? And the dynamics that affect them are different. Sand moves east to west in this side, but sand moves west to east in this side. So there is no one size that fits all. And then we now have the Strand Coast. The interesting thing about the Strand Coast is that it's not really tied to the Niger Delta system. It's slightly different. So in coming up with any coastal area management, you have to take into consideration, the peculiarities of these areas. So I just put out some data on coastal erosion in Nigeria. There's a lot of information in the public domain here, but for those who are doubting it, it's real. I mean, I have carried out personal studies, right, on this myself, and we still have reports recent. News reports on erosion, I don't think, anything carries more weight than when a community member is shouting. As they say in Warri, na die we do, right? Alpha Beach, for those who know Lagos, is gone. Totally gone. It's lost. This community where you have the 65-year-old is Obogoro community. Says, what else can we do? This problem is not what we can solve as a community. Akugbene community is asking for government to rescue the people of Akugbene. And we have many more like that. People are crying out. Their traditional practices are no longer working. Things are changing. So let's move on to coastal resilience, the main topic for today, but tied to AI. What is resilience? It's basically the ability to adapt to changing conditions The first thing is to recognize that things are changing and prepare yourself for it. There is no need sitting back and thinking that everything is the same. It's just like if you are a parent. By the time your child is transitioning from a young age to an adolescent, right, you realize that the way you communicate with that child, it will change. If you don't understand that, you say, my friend, go and sit down in that place. After some time, you speak, they just look at you, and especially children of nowadays. So you have to recognize that things are changing. So we're talking about bouncing back when something bad happens. And given what's going on with climate change, things are happening, things will happen. How ready are we to deal with them? It's important to the survival of the people. And I remind us we're talking about people in this 100-kilometer zone and along the river banks. So what kind of capacity do our communities have to anticipate, first of all, absorb, and recover from, and adapt to adverse events? For those who watch football, at least when a man wants to play a free kick, they give you the opportunity to put a wall, right? Because you know. So how ready are we? Do we know what is coming? In many other parts of the world, they have early warning systems. So they prepare. When hurricanes are coming, they tell the people in certain areas, you guys need to leave this place. It's going to land here. These are the places that will be affected and all that stuff. They warn them. In Nigeria, as my friend will say, So building resilience means strengthening both our natural and human systems, the ecosystems, man-made structures, governance, and education. And I'll talk about education a bit. So where does artificial intelligence come in? First of all, let me say this. I'm one of those who is just wondering, one day, are we not going to create things that we cannot control again? Because so I'm walking in the streets in the UK, part of UK, right? And I'm crossing the road, and there's this robot crossing the road with me. So I look around to see whether there is some guy, yes, that is operating it or controlling it, but there's nothing. So as I cross, the thing cross with me, I reach a traffic light, the thing is stopping with me too, and I'm thinking to myself, see wahala. As an Edo man, the first thing that comes to mind is, they find me come here. But I tell you what, it's trained. It's trained. It knows where the zebra crossing is. It knows where the lights are. They've used data. And it's going to deliver a package. Yes, it has a package that is going to deliver. And these things are running currently in parts of the UK. We also have driverless cars. But I have begged my friends in technology, make them no bring and come here. We don't. Can you imagine driverless cars? Will he know that one man has decided to pass one way? Will he know that guy refused to stop at the traffic, Does he know that Okada is coming? We're not ready for that yet. But AI can be used. What are they? They're computer systems that perform human tasks, learning, reasoning, and problem solving. The truth is this, right? The Internet of Things basically is almost like the foundation. So for those who use ChatGPT, anybody here? Okay. If you use ChatGPT, what you find out is that it is still internet search that it's doing, but it's doing it at a speed and based on algorithms that help it to pull and bring out data, It's not always correct, let me warn. I tested it the other day, right? I put my name. I say, what did I study? Where did I study? They say I did law in one place, so and so. I say, But, the truth is that it found another Victor Emery. I think they like that name in my yes, Victor. They like it, Like someone said to me, you see, I don't find another name. But it came out with wrong information. But the bottom line is that it's about training data. But there are various technologies, and we have what is called machine learning and deep learning, right? But it's all tied to data. AI enables us to move from being reactive to proactive. And like I said, if we know, right, it helps us to plan and prepare better. The damage is less. Benefits of EIA are well known, but not as effective as should be in Nigeria. Why do I bring this up? EIA is a tool to anticipate, right, predict, evaluate, and come up with decisions about activities that are to be embarked on, right? But we haven't used the EIA as effectively as we should in this country. But I guess I tell you this, AI can even improve the use of EIA. For instance, when we do oil spill modeling, right, we're anticipating what will happen in the event of a spill in a certain location, particularly offshore. AI presents a game changer in our quest for coastal resilience. Like I said, it can help us move from reactive to proactive. The specific things that AI does: predictive modeling and risk assessment, early warning systems. These are very, very important. But bear in mind, it's garbage in, garbage out. If your early warning system doesn't have the right type of data in, right, it can warn you that there is going to be a storm when there won't be. It can tell you that there will be sun shining, right? Again, let me just amuse you. And I'm sure most of you here from Niger Delta will understand. We had those people that hold rain, right? In Delta, Edo State, I don't know much about River State, but I know Delta. So their job is to hold rain when you want to have a function. And they put this thing, there's something burning and, and many of them succeed. But I do know that some have done that stuff, plus their appurtenances, the guests, everybody, the heavy rain that beat all of them. It was serious rain. Such times they beat up the guys and all that. So that is also some type of predictive modeling, right, with a science that many of us don't understand. So to use AI properly, you need the right data. Real-time monitoring and mapping. That is a very, very important tool for coastal resilience. But if you don't have, the information, it will be a problem. So AI can quickly tell you what is happening or what will happen in an area. AI, you can map coastlines as they are changing and quickly get information as to where the hotspots are. It can also help you monitor ecosystems and help you plan restoration. With algorithms, AI can tell you, listen, if you restore here, and so on and so forth, you're likely to get, the optimal outcome. It can help you plan infrastructure. I have said this at various fora. I have a concern with the way and manner the Lekki corridor in Lagos is developing. Lekki is a huge area where you have wetlands, right? But the development going on in that axis, in my opinion, right, has not been done in a sustainable manner, right? And which is why till tomorrow there are many parts of that corridor, when it rains, people's homes get flooded. But with AI, you can do it in such a way that you know the kind of elevation that certain houses should be at, the kind of infrastructure you should put here and there, and so on and so forth. Community engagement and inclusivity, you can have that with AI. The communities have a role to play, and I will talk about that. There is a fear that when you introduce computer-based systems and solutions, it will take over the jobs of people. It's not altogether wrong. However, if you're intentional about inclusivity, it becomes a win-win. It can help policy support and risk mapping, and then, of course, overall decision-making. But there are constraints. I talked about garbage in, garbage out. We do have a national AI strategy that was issued in 2024 by the Nigeria Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA. I've looked at it, I've read through it, it's a very good starting point, but it has certain weaknesses, and it's not a clear roadmap to the implementation of AI. But it can be leveraged and should be leveraged. The biggest elephant in the room, as far as AI is concerned, is this number 2, data availability and quality. A lot of work has been done in Nigeria over the years. But a lot of this work, the reports, the results, they are scattered all over the place. I have been opportune, right, to coordinate 2 regional studies on the Niger Delta, right, where we had to gather a lot of information. The first was the NDS in 1996-97, and the second one was in 2006 with the UNDP. And we had to look for data all over the place. Guess what? Nigeria oil and gas industry has, we've drilled so many wells in the Niger Delta over time. For a certain category of wells, you must do EIA. You can only get the EIA reports if you go to the Federal Ministry of Environment or the former DPR office. These EIA documents are supposed to be in the public domain. Actually, there's a public display process, but you can't find them. You can't find them. There are other regional work that has been done on the Niger Delta, which is not readily available, apart from the NDDC master plan. And then there's also the quality of data. With all due respect, I think over time, the quality of work coming out of certain sectors has been declining, and I think it's a function, right, of where our educational system is today. Prof, make una try now. Then data integration is another thing. You have various disciplines that need to be considered in coastal resilience. It's not just one, but you have to integrate all this data. As an example, I talked about how the wind affects the waves and how the waves act on the shoreline and how the action on the shoreline leads to the movement of sediment and how constraints to the movement of sediment causes erosion. You have to integrate all that data. And when you get into erosion, of course, people's property and lives are affected. The other issue is computational and technological resource constraints. Nigeria's internet speed is very poor compared to the global average. I have the actual paper, the numbers. If I give you the numbers, you'll be surprised. It's slow. We have the global average of 93 Mbps, while for Nigeria is 35. That is even in areas where you have internet. There are many areas where there are no internet. Now, AI, as we know, it requires computer and internet capability. So to be able to use it, right, we need to look into that issue. The other problem with AI is AI basically, like I said, is based on algorithms. Algorithms rely primarily on existing data. There's a situation where algorithms can come up with assumptions, which you throw in some assumptions, and on the basis of those assumptions, it comes up with the algorithms. But the best thing is to use trained data. If you don't have the right type of trained data, it will not be localized and it will miss local knowledge. Local knowledge remains key and is important. We also have the issue of skills. I look at skills from the point of view of a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, levels. Nigeria's tertiary institutions, we have between 20 to 30% of total university enrollment compared to 40 to 50% in countries like South Korea, China, and India. You can see there are my people here again. you know, there is the local technology, you know, the one that is not written down, you know. So I don't know what's happening, you know. So the interesting thing, I was at a graduation recently of the University of Pennsylvania. This is a big school. The School of Engineering and Applied Science. Now, and let me be conservative. First of all, the dean, Mr. Kumar, right? 90 to 95% of the graduates were of Asian and other extraction. The Americans that were graduating from that class are less than 5%. There is research that has shown that America is beginning to lag behind now in terms of STEM. But we can see the results. What is going on in India, what is going on in China is because of the amount that they're putting into it and the skills, capacity they're building in STEM. STEM is critical for us. We must focus on that. I'll give you other statistics. In 2022, Nigeria had only 20,000 STEM research publications compared to 200,000 in India and over 1 million in USA. Guess what? As far as patents are concerned, Nigeria has less than 100 a year, patents, right? While countries like South Africa have over 800, India 50,000, right? And the USA more than 60,000. We're not inventing. Are we only just sitting back and drinking champagne, palm wine, with very nice goat meat and all that? Is that what we're doing? There's work to be done, and then we are crying. There's really work to be done. So there's definitely a shortage of data scientists, AI engineers, and coastal scientists with cross-disciplinary knowledge. Local communities and NGOs also need to be skilled. We have what are called governance and institutional barriers. Like I mentioned, we have this new AI strategy, but it's been reviewed and there are weaknesses. So we need better collaboration on that front, which leads to the other point, fragmented responsibility. The number of stakeholders as far as coastal resilience is concerned, and in fact, you know, Niger Delta affairs, there are many. You know, many people are interested in Niger Delta because of the oil. That's the truth. Somebody said to me, don't say it's because of the oil. I say it's because of the oil. Let us go down history lane. Even the former, company, is it British Niger company? It was oil, but it was palm oil. It is still oil. Let us face it. But there are many of them. NIWA, Federal Ministry of Environment through the Erosion, Flood and Coastal Zone Management Department, NOSDRA, NESRIA, then we have research institutes, NEOMA, right? We have several stakeholders. They have enabling laws. We're not going to overnight and disregard the enabling laws, just like the NDDC has its own enabling laws. But we can work together. And I'll talk about, you know, my thoughts on how to collaborate. We also have ethical and social issues, and this relates primarily to using wrong or untrained data to deploy AI. You miss certain things that you shouldn't miss, and you take on things that you shouldn't take on. Vulnerable groups, right, could be hit hard. Another big issue is insecurity. I must mention this. Insecurity all over the country, but also in the coastal zones. In the face of insecurity, you really cannot fully harness AI. If you put certain things in place, security can remove all of them, including your systems. Then we have what is called project versus systemic thinking. You know, one thing I've observed in Nigeria is people come up with a very brilliant idea, innovation, and they say, let us have a pilot project. You do the pilot project, but many times that pilot doesn't land. That is where it ends, or nothing else happens. Now, looking at the interconnectivities, you know, in the coastal region, You need what we call systemic thinking, as opposed to just a project approach. Systemic thinking. There is also the dependency risk. Human beings, especially, how many Gen Zs are here? You know, anybody that would consider themselves Gen Z here? You know, you say they are at the back, right? Why do I mention this? You know, research has shown that the Gen Z typically is looking for a button to press. If I can press a button and it gives me chicken cooked to the way I want, that's what I want. If I can press a button and it gets my nails done, that's what the Gen Z wants. And so when you bring AI, right, and introduce it to human beings, the way the Gen Z will be looking at the AI is that, okay, maybe this can solve all the problems. I just sit back. AI, there's coastal erosion in this place. Design for me, you know, how to deal with it. That's all well and good. But there's a dependency risk. You cannot allow machines to take over. You need to work with them. When you depend fully on AI, there's a problem there. So what is the way forward? For me, I think we need to start thinking carefully to exploit the benefits of AI. Let's be intentional, focused. And we can surmount these challenges. I want to challenge the NDDC. Take the lead. Take the lead. We put up there several states that have outer coastlines. There are only 2 of those states that are not within the Niger Delta region as currently defined. Lagos and Ogun State. All of the rest. So the tail cannot be wagging the dog. The dog needs to be wagging the tail. Yes, we have erosion control, flood control zone in Abuja and all that. But let's face it, that's not where the action is. That's not where the problem is. We're not saying disregard them. NDDC should take the lead. Come up with a strategy for coastal resilience. That strategy will, at a minimum, address data availability and quality. And the first step in this regard is, let us even check out what is the data, the universe of data that is available. What do we currently know? What do we currently have? You design a database that is GIS, driven, because the use of GIS is amazing. The utility. Carefully build it in such a way that it is scalable, and you have the necessary integration designed into it. Approach the other stakeholders. Let them bring their data into it. Give them a role to play. But the NDDC should take the lead. Data is key. Related to that, we need observatories. And part of why I spent time showing us, the various geomorphic zones. In setting up observatories, you must have one in each of those zones at a minimum, because they have their own peculiarities. Observatories, oceanographic observatories, these are things like tide gauges, current measurements, weather stations. We do have weather stations with NIMET, right? But how many are close to the coast? Are we monitoring currents? One thing that I think about every time that worries me is that the waters of the Niger Delta, based on the flow of the main river Niger into the distributaries, has only been comprehensively studied by a Dutch company called NDDC in the 1950s. That's before I was born. Since then, there has been no comprehensive study on the hydrology of Niger Delta rivers. None, none. I stand here to be challenged, corrected. There is none. NDDC is the only comprehensive one. So till tomorrow when we are writing papers, NDDC 1958. And we say we are planning. And we say we are protecting people. I commend the NDDC for taking steps to come up with the new master plan. Director, sir, when will it be ready, if I may ask? Yes. The new master plan. Fantastic. I'm excited. I do hope that it will be made available, and I do hope that it's open to be leveraged upon, right, for some of the things that we're talking about. It's gladdening to know that at least the NDDC is forward thinking. They recognize that the master plan expired in, was it 2020? And have taken steps to prepare a new one. It's not an end in itself, right? It's work in progress. And so hopefully you can use the master plan to pursue some of these things that we're talking about. Of course, our state governments are also important stakeholders. They have to get involved. They have to participate. And I'll talk about the key stakeholders. We need to improve collaboration. And again, I charge the NDDC to take the lead. We need to build skills and capacity. Now, let me talk a bit about skills and capacity. All stakeholders have a role to play. For government and policy makers, as far as AI is concerned, you need to have basic understanding of what AI can do and cannot do. You need to have knowledge of data governance, policy knowledge on data privacy, access and sharing. In one breath, it's good for you to be able to provide data to people that need it. In another breath, you have to understand how to make sure that the data is not penetrated, and polluted. We know that China is very good in looking at people when they are sleeping. Government and policymakers need to understand methods of risk communication, translating AI outputs into actionable policies. In short, okay, this analysis that you've done, what does it mean to me? You need to know how to procure AI tools, evaluate vendors, know what standards are ethical, and of course the issue of scalability. For scientists and researchers, they must have skills and knowledge of the most important software for algorithms: machine learning, GIS, hydrology, interpretability tools. Engineers need to understand data integration, using AI on low-power remote devices because of the peculiarity of Niger Delta. Yes, we should be wrapping up soon. Oh, okay. Oh, you are looking for... No, this one is not there. I will see you quietly to... Yes, no, this one is not there. Yes. So... engineers and project implementers should have the know-how in data integration, like I said, using AI on low-power remote devices, cloud infrastructure like Amazon Web Services. They need to know how to set up automated alerts and dashboards. Also cyber security and data integrity. So if, for instance, you are choosing a partner to help you implement AI, there are certain things to look out for to make sure that they have those skill sets. Otherwise, we will not have the optimal outcome of whatever project. Educators and capacity builders, they need to understand what needs to be taught to different stakeholders for them to be able to use AI. They need to design relevant curriculum of universities. Last year I was at a talk delivered by the current Vice Chancellor of University of Lagos. And one of the things that touched me about what she said, She says that, look, the university system is dying. And what she was trying to alert us to is the fact that the current pedagogy, the teaching techniques, the curriculum and all that needs to change. Otherwise, the relevance of the university will continue to wane. A lot of the AI tools, you don't need to go to a university to learn them anymore. You have courses all over the place. But we believe that the universities are still important institutions. If they nuance, tweak, amend their curriculum, right, they can churn out students that can help to deal with this AI situation. Civil society also needs to be trained. Basic understanding of how to collect and interpret AI-generated alerts. The farmers and fishers in other parts of the world, they all have on their phone tools in their local languages. Right now, I know that many fishers in the Niger Delta have mobile phone. Please, am I correct? Okay. So if that is the case, those mobile phones can be used to optimize AI solutions. If we change things to local language for them, maybe things that they can hear or they can read, right? All we need is that some people or a group or a project needs to be intentional about it. And then those guys become useful. Logging, as an example, or illegal logging, artisanal refining, and all that. If you equip people with ways they can send messages from their phones on these issues, it will help to curb some of these activities. The private sector is also key. They have a role to play, right? They should sponsor design of these apps. Challenge them, invite them, come and partner with NDDC. Bring your money, we want to develop this thing. We also need to enforce and improve quality of EIA. I continue to emphasize this. EIA remains a very important tool to predict the impacts of planned development activities. It's very, very important. I do know that the NDDC does EIA on some of its projects, but I still want to encourage the NDDC to carry out retraining of its key consultants and its personnel on EIA today. Because EIA also has not stayed where it was several years ago. The approaches, the methods, and how to interpret the data over time has changed. We must design AI for power and telecom peculiarities, like I said. What are the key things? Alternative power solutions. I don't know if it has changed now, but those days when we analyzed the electricity grid system in Nigeria, the results were very stark. Grid all over the southwest. Grid in a good part of the southeast. Grid in a good part of the northern region. In the swampy terrain of the Niger Delta, as my friend says, no grid. The place basically is excluded. So gas, we're talking of gas, fantastic. But how quickly, how soon are we going to get enough gas to power electricity to provide enough for all of those people? Moreover, when they go to fish, there is no grid in those areas. So we need to design AI tools that take into consideration the power and telecommunication challenges, or peculiarities, I would say, of the region. And it's been done in other parts of the world. So we have data points there. Other measures, of course, security. We have to look into security and work with all the security agencies. Improve intelligence. Economic empowerment remains a tool to address insecurity. And I do know is one of the things that the NDDC is looking at, from your mandate. But I think we have to be a lot more intentional about it. A lot of the studies we've carried out in Niger Delta in recent times, when you ask, what are the people's needs? You hear employment, employment, employment. Of course, Nigeria's unemployment situation is nasty. If you look at total unemployment, the figures may be in the 30s. But if you look at unemployment among the youth, then you are dealing with, maybe over 50%. How can you have a population that has over 50% of its youth unemployed? That's a gunpowder. That is gunpowder. Nothing more than that. And it's not that they don't want to work. I reject this narrative that today's youth don't want to work. I reject it. Yes, I recognize the fact that you have entitlement in certain places, but give them options and sufficiently incentivize them. For those who are sleeping or maybe dozing, let me just amuse you a little bit. So when we were carrying out the UNDP study, and one of the, goals of some of the bigger stakeholders in the study was to try and come up with suggestions for Niger Delta people to move away from interest in the oil and gas business. So I said, what should they do? They said, look, they're traditionally fishermen and farmers. I said, okay. So I was thinking about it, we were talking about this, and then at one of the sessions, we broke out for lunch and we were talking, and one of the Niger Delta men said, see, I don't hear what they talk. They say, me will they go fish, me will they go fish. Oga, you, no big jeep you bring come here. How many fish I go sell before I buy the jeep? How many fish I go sell before I buy this jeep? The man kept quiet. Then the other one, he said to them, I beg, we don't even want to hear this. Give us the opportunity. He said, see, you just say I know like Omotola. We all know Omotola, the actress. You just say I know like Genevieve. You just say I know like, he was mentioning all these female actresses. They go follow me. But these things, you laugh about them, but they are sending a clear message, right, which should not be ignored. We need to ensure that these people are economically empowered. We have to be intentional about it. I cannot leave here without talking about governance and accountability. At the end of the day, when we finished our work on the Niger Delta situation in 2006, a failure of governance was the primary problem from what we saw. Yes, all stakeholders had a role to play, all stakeholders had blame, but it was primarily a failure of governance. The failure of governance is ubiquitous all over Nigeria. It's pervasive. The evidence lies in the insecurity, lawlessness, high levels of unemployment, culture of mediocrity, poor social infrastructure, declining educational standards, and a pauperized citizenry. The one thing that I can't deal with is our culture of psychophancy. Why have we become psychophants to people in government who we should hold accountable? Why? Rather than hold them accountable, we're begging them, we're pleading with them. So every time I speak to students and I tell them, one of them asked me one day, Oga, what am I supposed to do? I say, if you meet a man and you get into a situation, do you know who I am? Tell him, and you know him, tell him, yes, I know you. You work for me. You're a government official. You need to begin to challenge these things. If you carry on with the culture of psychophancy, I'm sorry, the governance situation will not change in this country. But more importantly, you and I have to be the change that we want. You must be the change that you want. You can't tell the man be doing it, but you are not doing it. No, it doesn't work. Accountability is also key. And on this note, it's not written in my address. I will appeal to the Niger Delta Development Commission to improve its disclosures on the work that it's doing. Let the world know. I sit down and people argue daily. All the money that NDDC is collecting, what are they doing with it? If I go to your website, I see projects. I saw about 354 shoreline and coastal something projects. There are projects that are there. But you need to be more intentional about communicating what you're doing and accountability. Issue reports. Disclose, proper disclose. Let it be properly designed such that what is going out tells a story. But I will say this. The most important thing is impact. Impact. You can spend money on projects and on activities, but without having impact. To put that in perspective, I was arguing with someone years ago, and I said to them, you people are helping communities. They says yes. Are you helping communities with things that they need and that will change them and that will impact their lives? Say yes. Say, what do you mean? I say, okay, let me give you an example. If you go to a community like Bile, Bile, yes, I'm just choosing a random community, or Molume, right? And say you want to train the people there to make the best suits, right? You see, you are shaking your head. You train the people to make the best suits. You know, the guy, fantastic suit maker. Who does he want to sell the suit to? Similarly, you are spending money on education. How many people finished secondary school education? How many of those who finished secondary school education got into tertiary institutions? How many of those who finished and got into tertiary institutions finished their degrees? How many of those who finished their degrees got a job that is paying them? That is impact. It has to be measured. NDDC impact indices must be developed and disclosed. In conclusion, my sermon is almost over. For those who have not given their life, this is your last chance. Ladies and gentlemen, coastal hazards including the erosion of coastlines, are not only about loss of land, but loss of heritage, security, and opportunity. But we are not powerless. We are at a moment in history where our technology has caught up with our needs. Let us envision a future where no child has to leave school because their home was swallowed by the sea, where coastal towns thrive instead of retreat, and where technology serves people and the planet in equal measure. AI brings precision to planning. It saves money, reduces environmental damage, and enhances effectiveness. It's time for the NDDC to step into a new phase on the sustainable and environmental management of the region's environment and resources by leading the way in the use of AI for coastal resilience. Let us leave this retreat with a renewed sense of urgency and possibility. With the right investments, governance, and collaboration, Nigeria can lead not only in deploying AI for the climate and coastal resilience, but also in demonstrating how Africa can leapfrog into a future that is smart, sustainable, and sovereign. The coast is calling. The time to act is now. Let us not use AI to merely analyze damage, but to prevent damage, protect lives, ecosystems, and economies. NDDC, federal government, state governments must make coastal AI a national development priority. Research institutions must drive locally relevant innovation. Technology companies must partner with communities not just to deliver products, but products that they can use and that support issues like coastal resilience. Civil society must participate and hold us all accountable to equity, justice, and sustainability. AI is not the savior. We are the ones that need to do it. Remember, AI can be constrained by insecurity, poor governance, accountability, and the absence of data and lack of capacity. So we must address those things. But AI is a powerful tool in our hands. Let us use it wisely, urgently, and together. I thank you all for listening and wish you fruitful deliberations and an overall productive exchange of ideas over the 5-day retreat. God bless you all.
Please, can we just be on our feet? Can we just be on our feet and give him a round of applause? This is a very powerful message. Thank you so much. Thank you. Because of time, what we'll do is, we are going to, because he has another place, he's leaving us, we're going to have a group photograph section with him, but I will just give like 3 minutes for us to ask him 1 or 2 questions. Then after the questions, we'll go outside for the group photograph, then we'll go for our tea break. Then we'll come back for the second session. So can we sit down, please? Can we sit down? I would like to take questions. Anybody want to ask question? Professor Idara Akpabio, 1. Any other person? Okay, Martins, Engineer Martins, 2. Okay, we'll just stick to these 2 questions. Please be brief. 1 minute. 1 minute, please.
Thank you so much. Not really a question as such, but I remember you directed something to the and what concerns him concerns me. Now, I want to make bold to say that we are living a life such that in the nearest future, by the time all the data that are needed are gathered, it will come to a point that I will know what my director is thinking, and he will know what I'm thinking by mere looking at him. At that time, all the data that are needed must have been gathered. Now, when you search for your name on ChatGPT or wherever, there's a great possibility that there's someone who has your similar identity. And so that system was looking, and I found that if you check critically, you will know that that also exists. Now, the industry needs to work with the universities. We are research centers. In my university, for example, we don't repair our cars. We don't take our cars to the mechanic outside, no. Because they should tell us their problem. They should tell us our problems, and then we fix it for them. So the works department in my school and the mechanical engineering department in my school, they fix our cars. They fix our cars. We don't take it there. My gear is not changing from 1 to 2. Theory behind the workings of the gear. By the time we extract the theory, we translate it to real thing and it works. So my request would be that the industry will let the authorities know where the questions are, and then we'll use that as a research tool and look for the answers. So collaboration, a lot of times we write proposals to industries and they turn the thing down. So we need this level of collaboration. Maybe you're looking at funding. Yes, you're going to fund it, because if the other people don't fund it, you that is looking for a solution, you fund it. And because I typed and said, why are universities not being active in gathering data for you? So I've given you the answer there. Lack of collaboration. When I write these proposals, you look at them and then we work together. And the other question I ask is the university still relevant in the midst of AI and meta technology? The answer is yes. By the time me and the director sit together and try to gather data, we are institution as such. 2 persons reasoning together. Forget about going to sit down in a classroom. We are already sitting down here talking. So those data that gets back to AI, they are generated by also institute to be relevant till eternity. So make the university people your friend. When we bring researchers, you sponsor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Let me take this.
So thank you. Interestingly, you are preaching to the converted. You know, as because I am one of the advocates of what we call, and to use your language, town and gown, collaboration. So I fully, I've always argued and wondered, why is our academia not as relevant to the country's development as it should be? I always give an example. If you know the Bose speaker system, right, BOSE, it was developed by, I think, a professor of physics or engineering. We don't have those anymore. There is a disconnect. But the problem is on both sides, with all due respect, right? The academia became insular at some point and territorial, and was not willing to open up, at least I know in certain universities, to interaction and engagement, with industry. I've even heard things like, hey, my friend, you have conquered industry, leave us here in our own little place, which does not help the students, right? So that's one. Two, our policymakers, decision makers, politicians, with all due respect to them, have run governments without the benefit of data from research and all that. How can you be planning without information? So you are driving blind. Even, driverless cars have data that they're using. Our own is worse, So at the end of the day, I agree with what you're saying. On this, the collaboration is there, and the universities need to be engaged a lot more. However, I will argue that the pedagogy needs to be reviewed for it to remain relevant. So we can continue this discussion. There's a lot to talk about, but like I said, this is a great initiative. What's the second one?
Thank you very much. My name is Engineer Martin ECJ. I want to say thank you so much for this lecture. Mine is not a question per se, but a challenge to us also, sitting down in this hall. You have gone through so much in the last 1 hour that I find it difficult to compress my comment. The only thing that strikes me seriously is the last statement that summarizes everything. AI brings precision to planning. You did mention some things about data integration, from the wind to the waves to the shoreline to the sediment movement, and then to erosion, and then to human problems. Now, in all this, we know our country, Nigeria. We know that we don't plan. It's difficult. And AI is supposed to bring like a solution, because it's a proactive, it's proactive systemic planning. If I'm going to plan, we have a problem in Nigeria of not being able to, let me use the word, appreciate planning from the top, or let me just say from the bottom. Appreciate in the sense that if we were to start with wind planning, the wind data collection, I'm just going to go through your data integration. The wind, the waves. How do we convince people? How do we convince our policymakers? How do we convince people that are going to put down resources to go into these things? Because when you're talking grammar. They don't understand, they don't appreciate. And then I ask myself, this is a whole lot. I'm glad you talked about fragmented responsibility, Nusra and Co. Everybody has their responsibility. But God, this is much. I don't know how you want to, I'm talking from an NDC perspective now. I don't know how I want to talk to our policymakers to understand the implication of not gathering enough data to be able to move forward, create a plan. So, I just want to say thank you very much. It's actually giving thanks to you. This is it's a comment and a challenge for us all. And I don't know if you can help us. How do we convince our policymakers to understand that there is a need to gather information? Thank you.
Great comment. Great comment. You know, one of the things I didn't spend time talking about, but it's in the paper, right, is the need to establish what I call sustainable funding models. It's right here in the paper. You need to have sustainable funding. You have a finite pool of resources, NDDC, and you cannot allocate to coastal erosion. No, it's not possible. You can't allocate all to OAI and coastal resilience. However, you can lead the way, right, in crowding in funding. You can lead the way. And I tell you this, there's two things that will help crowd in funding. Number one, if you are able to demonstrate transparency in the process, for instance, of implementing projects, right, it will crowd in funding. Number two, if you're able to communicate the impact, not necessarily the project itself, but the impact of the project. I think, you know, we must distinguish the two. We have implemented this project, we have done this project and all that. Fantastic. But what is the impact of the project? With that, I can assure you, you will crowd in funding. There's funds out there to support these initiatives. There is money out there, even in country. Some of the IOCs will be willing to put money into this. Private companies will be willing to put money into this. There's green bonds. You can also basically launch a bond. The problem people have when it comes to Nigerian initiatives is there transparency? Is there accountability? What is the real impact? Those are the real problems. Can you imagine a situation where NDDC-led initiative helps certain students to innovate, and the innovations are now acknowledged or recognized worldwide? That is impact. That is clear impact. So let's not be constrained in our mind. Yes, there is a challenge. Our government people, I don't know, is there any government official here? No. NDDC is different now. You know, if there is government official, I will not say what I want to say then. Huh? You want to deceive me? Don't deceive me. Okay, no politician here. I will say this. Sometimes I think that our political leaders are mad. You know, no. Sometimes I just say to myself, you have to be a bit of a lunatic, right, to have access to this kind of resources and influence, and you see people living in abject poverty, you see people that are dealing with this kind of challenges, and you are not moved to do anything about it. You must be suffering from some situation. A lady came to speak to us at an event recently, right, on mental illness for oil and gas, workers and all that, And I stood up to ask her a question. I said, Prof, is there any type of test you people can prescribe before political leaders are elected, so that we can check? Because in my honest opinion, there's something wrong with them. But guess what? The entertainment industry has thrived in spite of government. There are certain entrepreneurs, Flutterwave, and a number of others that have thrived in spite of government, because their innovations basically, yes, and they lead to impact. So the NDDC can have that approach. I tell you what, if you start with one or two and the impact is disclosed, they will be coming to beg you, can I partner with you? It's that simple. That's the comment I have for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're going to have the group photograph section with all our distinguished lecturers and also the directors. Okay, can we have it here or would you let's have it inside? Outside. Let's have it outside. Then after that, we'll just go to the restaurant for our tea break and we'll come back. We have 20 minutes. We have 20 minutes to do that. Thank you.